Hello and welcome to this week's episode of SBXIV, the podcast about, well, playing about 14-year-old girls, that's for sure.
Okay, that's getting...
Wow, that was a turn.
Well, I was trying to think of something 14, and the only thing that could come up was 14-year-old girls because I saw Siri's name, and then I thought about...
How do I get roped into that means one of two things. Either A, you're playing bad things and that's bad, or B, you think of me as no more than a 14-year-old girl, which is probably accurate because,
I think you make a great
I love me some One
14-year-old
Direction,
girl.
gotta sit there and, fawn over Liam for a while.
I'm now
Harry the
imagining
best-looking
you,
one?
going, oh, Liam! He's gonna be my boyfriend!
I pulled a name out of my ass. I think I've seen him on my Twitter one day.
I don't even know who the fuck Liam is.
He's one of those guys.
Oh,
No.
he's one of those.
Yeah, he's
I
one of those
don't
guys.
know
one of
who
those.
I don't know who Liam is either. No, I was actually thinking more about your wife and when you had that picture posted and you had a picture with her when she was 14 and I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah, that was many years ago. Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
many years ago. But that's the only reason why I said 14.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, today's date is November 29th, 2015. It is a Sunday and we decided to take a break over the holiday just to, well, because we're getting stressed out before Thanksgiving and then relax after Thanksgiving. And so we're here now. Yay, talking about 14
Huzzah, we
stuff.
did it.
We did it. We're going to be talking about Orophen because apparently he's different in other languages. We knew that, but, whatever.
Just the shock that gets you.
Actually, the process is kind of interesting, which I'd like to read about. The duty roulette and the queuing matching system in patch 3.1. The adjustments regarding the exploratory missions, the re-raise item suggestion for the Phoenix Down, and then, of course, more duty finder queuing stuff, which we might tie in together with that. I need to move my tabs, but there we go. That's what we're going to be talking about. So, but first... Touch. I know. I am really super chatty. I've been wanting to just attack people with words lately.
Now I have an image in my head of you with a gun and just words coming out of it like a machine
That would
gun.
be really cool, wouldn't it?
Sure. Great.
Anyways, how was everyone's, holiday?
I worked.
Oh
I
my
did
gosh,
too.
that's right.
I slept.
I did sleep a little bit, and then well, what?
You have to sleep more.
I know I do need to sleep more because if I don't sleep more, then you're going to have a rambling, crazy Kala on your hands, which you already do, but that's besides the point.
Well, yeah, like I said, my holiday was spent resting and looking crazy, like we normally do.
Well, I already know that. I'm hoping that you shaved your head.
No,
I forgot.
No. I need him to grow that shit out.
No, I need
No.
to shave it.
No.
Dye
no.
green.
Don't do that. I need you to grow it out.
No,
Play with your fluff.
no.
I mean, as much as I love you guys, I have a girlfriend and that has perks that you guys don't give, so
But I'm your bro friend.
head is getting shaved.
Damn.
Those perks.
The not getting stabbed thing.
Yeah, that's one of the
That's
perks.
a good perk. That's a really good perk.
More like,
Best perk.
if he wants me to talk to him, he better consider what he's doing. But,
Wow.
getting shot at would be nice.
Wow.
Or
I'm gonna
me
grow
shooting.
hair out on my armpits too.
Ew, no. Okay, anyways, let's talk about Orophen because,
Well, why don't we introduce ourselves first?
oh,
Oh yeah, huh?
but I figured people
Everybody
know
knows
us.
who we are.
I know, right? I'm Kala. Who are you?
Harshafan?
No, you're too yucky to be Orophen. Go away.
I am a bear. Who are you?
I'm Orophen. Oro the Great, otherwise known as Oro Senpai.
No, what? You can't just tack things on.
People call me Oro Senpai. They also call me Oro the Great.
I think we should start this intro over.
No, I think this is a good intro.
No, this is
Hey
a
guys,
horrible
welcome
intro.
to Sickest Break 14, the podcast about Final Fantasy 14. I'm your
You
host
can't
today,
just
Oro
redo
the
it
Great.
in the middle, what? Anyways, okay, so I'm Kala, Smith,
Siri the drunk. Woo!
are you drunk right now?
No, but I'm drinking.
Oh, okay.
I'm drinking too.
Good man.
So, how long is it gonna take for you guys to hit that level?
Oh, quite some time.
It'll be
I only
a
had
while.
an Irish coffee and now I'm on a beer, so
It's not even the second quarter.
yeah, seriously. We got time.
I wanna do a show where you guys start drinking at the start of the show, and then over the course of the show, you get drunker and drunker.
I can do
And
that.
and
I
at
have a
the
giant
end-
bottle.
And at the end, you guys are smashed off your asses.
We can
This
do
would
that.
actually be the perfect day to do it since I do not work tonight.
Oh.
I unfortunately have to work tomorrow, but we should plan that and just like
Yes.
have something come up where a keyword you take a shot. Ooh, that's dangerous.
That is dangerous.
I kind of regret saying that now. I think I'm gonna die.
We should
Well,
do
well-
that for a stream. That'd be really fun. If you
Well-
want that, you should email us and let us know your thoughts so that
Yeah, we can put it to a vote.
we could put it to a
Oh, we
vote.
can stream it?
Yeah.
Wait, no, I don't think it's allowed on Twitch anymore.
Oh,
You can't drink
really?
on Twitch. I don't think so.
Oh, really? We'll look
Yeah.
into it. Because
We'll look into
you
it,
would
yeah.
you would see me kind of doing the wobble thing, and like that time I got into that big argument with Oro when I'm pointing at my screen, even though he wasn't actually here.
You were pointing at your
You're
screen.
goddamn. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like,
Yeah,
it's the whole Italian thing, and I kind of talk with my hands sometimes.
I get that out of people. I mean, we can drink on Twitch, but we just have to say, oh, this is fake drinking. We're just doing
is
a
apple juice.
bit.
Apple juice.
Yeah,
Iced
we're
tea.
doing a bit. That's all.
Can we talk about Horshafont?
Sure. What about him?
Alright. Okay, so
that guy.
back in 2.2-ish something, people found out that one of the cutscenes for including Horshafont was wildly different than the Japanese version. I'm talking about the French, English, and was it Deutsch? Not Deutsch. German?
Yeah, Deutsch.
God.
Oh, it's Deutsch. Okay. Because I'm looking at DE and I'm like, what the fuck is DE? I guess DE
German.
is. Well, then
Yeah,
why
it's
isn't it?
DEUTSCHE.
Why isn't it just GR?
Because that's what we call it, but they call it.
Deutsch?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
by native land.
okay. All right.
Like,
That's your-
it's like Japan and Nippon.
Okay. All right. So for the French, English, and German speakers, they decided that they were going to change it without really consulting anyone, which that's the part that surprised me, was that the localization teams had decided to make those changes without kind of conferring to the teams responsible for making the lore and story and cutscenes and all of those other things, or even Yoshida himself. And since then, they've started to try and steer the character of Horshafont into the same character that the Japanese knew and loved, and that was because of a cultural background difference. Apparently, that the translators for the English, French, and German were thinking that people in those countries would not understand how am I supposed to describe Horshafont? He's
Hedonistic.
yeah, he's a hedonistic person. He's an hedonist. Yes, he is. And
He's a Houdiniist?
well, I guess he would be. Wouldn't he? Because he appears out of nowhere sometimes.
Yeah, it's a little creepy at times.
It is.
But
It
yeah, I
is
noticed
super
that.
creepy.
But I guess here's the big kicker: is that it's kind of derivative of like all localization. Like case in point, we had a conversation about Yokai Watch recently,
Mhm.
and in the Yokai Watch in Japan, when the cartoon aired, there's a scene where the kids are watching late night television in Japan, and it's these girls in tiny bikinis and they're jumping around, and then it switches to like the macho guy who wears the little tiny speedos and they're like lifting weights. They're like macho, macho, and the kids freak out. And they change channel again, and the same thing happens. They find cute girls in bikinis, and then macho guy, macho guy. When that aired in the U.S., the girls were not only covered in one-piece bathing suits rather than bikinis, but the macho guy was completely removed from the screen and replaced with a French cook.
What?
Why would they freak out at a French cook?
That's just it, is that like the localization for the Americas is always really, really heavy-handed. Like they get rid of sexual connotation, they get rid of things that can be considered risque, because the localization teams here don't think that kids or people who are going to consume this can quote handle it. And with the harsh font character, there's a lot of like innuendo and a lot of like naked men, training out in the snow, which from a training perspective makes sense if you ever watch any kung fu movies, but it can also be construed as something hypersexual. And that kind of line and the fact that it can be towed there, they decided to remove it because they don't want to offend anybody. And I call bullshit on that.
I also call bullshit because I mean there are so many other things that I mean I mean I don't even know where to begin because
Yeah, it's like there's so much other stuff on television that people are exposed to, yet they change these small little weird cultural references. It doesn't make sense to me.
no, it doesn't. I mean, there's whores and there's talk of whores throughout the game, and then other sexual things. But then there's this thing based off of. I mean, it's a huge side character, sure, but I mean, what? Why? I'm. I mean, I know they changed it, and they don't plan to do those kind of things anymore. But it's still kind of baffling to me. It's just like, what? But speaking of the changes, this is what these are the measures that they plan to do so that this problem doesn't arise again. So for quests, they pour over plot and outlines and character profiles as they become available. So, already they're working on 3.2 and 3.3 stuff. So even if the quest text is not available, they still are kind of looking at the character and going, okay, this is going to need to be tweaked or whatever for this particular character. And they share the thoughts with the scenario team on concerns of the things and work through the problematic issues. And if they feel that something strongly should be deviated, then they consult with the team leaders beforehand and not just do it on their own, because that is really assholey.
Yeah, I think that's really important to actually look forward and not have any localization now affect character development down the line.
Yeah.
And I think that the lack of communication between localization and dev in the past, may have caused a couple little misinterpreted things, like the Midgard Stormer thing where everyone thought he was a dickbag.
Yeah.
When actually he was just kind of testing you. I don't think that really came across the way it was supposed to. So I think that moving forward, now they've learned their lesson. Not the greatest, but hey, at least now moving forward, we can have strong character development that's closer to what the character was supposed to be in the beginning.
Which I think it still kind of baffles me, because I'm still sometimes confused about Midgard Sommer. Like, because I've mostly watched the cutscenes in Japanese. So...
Same.
For me, it has the subtitles and it includes all of the full cutscenes that I wasn't even aware were edited out until I actually switched to the English version and was like, oh, well then.
Oh, that I didn't know.
Yeah,
I've been watching in Japanese for the longest time.
Well, I mean, take the Horshavant cutscene, for example. There were you see the people training naked,
Yeah,
and everything.
That.
I believe it's not there in the English version.
Oh, I should have rewatched that.
Yeah, and
I
that
didn't
was
even notice.
That was the cutscene I was trying to look for before I had logged out of the game, and I couldn't find it. But yeah, something like that was just cut out, and so that you were mostly focused, I think, on his face or somewhere else, and I'm thinking, like, why would you cut that out? That's, I guess, I mean, I don't know. I think that it was just kind of fun seeing Horshafon's character develop, and I'm kind of hoping that we have another kind of, what did we decide to call him? Nihilistic? Hedonistic character available.
Those are my favorite characters, Joe.
Yeah, they're
Hedonism
mine.
bot.
Mhm.
Zombie, fetch me some pudding. An opera written for a woman by a man. How delightfully absurd. Yes.
Okay, so moving on, we're going to go to Duty Roulette. Since the patch 3.1, apparently it's been slow, and which is something that we've actually encountered as a group in particular, is we will be sitting late night. Of course, it's late night, and there's nothing happening.
Yeah, it's been really, really weird.
It has been really, 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 really weird. According to Bayonne, they said that their investigation on the matter is that the queue times have increased during peak hours is because of two measures that were implemented in patch 3.1. So, since a large variety of content that utilizes the instance servers were implemented in patch 3.1, the server load placed on the server when characters are transferred to an instance has spiked. Therefore, to prevent cases where the instance or world areas could crash, we have placed a limit on the number of character transfers that take place per minute. So then that means probably like a large group queuing in is not going to go in as fast as a small group. However, as time has passed since the release of patch 3.1, we have confirmed that the servers remain quite stable and we will remove this restriction today. So they removed it about 2 days ago. It will not require hotfix or maintenance to remove this restriction. We will continue to monitor the server load over the weekend, and if no problems arise, we will not reinstate these restrictions. So I think that's when it was probably but the night before that when we tried to do
Void Arc.
Right?
Void Arc. Yeah, we tried to do Void Arc before that date, and it was real. Oh my gosh. How long did we stay in queue?
1 hour.
Ugh.
And you
1
guys have
hour
how
as a
many
full
people?
party.
A full party?
We
We
had a full party.
and we waited 1 hour. We
Was
watched
it reserving
everything.
the whole time?
No, it was basically trying to fill. Like, it would fill up and then fill back down. Then fill up, like one person not there, then fill back down. Then kick down everybody. Like, we got down just to us at one point. It was just really, really weird.
Mhm.
And today I had a to-do finder issue where it said, estimated time 5 minutes. 20 minutes later, as a healer, I'm still waiting on an expert.
Oh, and this is going based off and this other comment by Bayonne. We have taken a look at the data and confirmed that more players are queuing for Duty Roulette Expert over simply selecting Mohicane's something Arboretum and Pharaoh Sirius Hard.
Moccasins, Arby's, burrito.
Yep.
But of course they are, because they want the extra SOs. That's dumb.
Yeah, so we will adjust the algorithm during the hotfix planned for Tuesday of next week. After the adjustment, whether the player queues for specific content or the Duty Roulette, they will be handled equally. So
Wait, hold on. So that wasn't the case prior?
Well, I think it was more like they didn't expect them to do roulette. Which is weird because I thought the expert roulette is actually just queuing. The equivalent of queuing up for both.
That's what I thought too.
That's what
But
I thought
apparently
too.
it's not because
So
we
what
had
I
that
had thought-
issue with people just not doing never root.
Yeah,
after you did your expert.
What I had thought was that, like you said, it's going to be queuing roulette basically gives you a 50-50 chance of both of those.
Yeah,
And it puts you with people who are queuing singly on top of
that's
that.
what I thought too. That's
and
fucking weird.
So here's the part that really bothers me about that. The statement that they just made where we weren't expecting people to use roulette is fucking asinine because you're giving us extra esoterics by going through there. Like, you're incentivizing us to utilize the roulette functionality once per day. Why wouldn't we logically do that?
No, I think the point is that you only do
You
roulette
do the expert roulette
once
once, yeah.
per day. If you're like spamming dungeons over the course of a day, then you're not using roulette over and over again, which is probably what their reasoning was. More people would be selecting a single dungeon according to their logic than they would be for just doing roulette. But apparently it didn't work out the way that they thought.
Exactly,
it would.
because that doesn't make sense. You have we don't know if they do. They should have implemented the ability to have the single dungeons tie in with experts. That's how we always thought it worked.
Yeah, I mean,
Apparently, we learned
that's
today
so
that
weird.
it doesn't work that way.
yeah. I mean, this entire time I thought, okay, if a party had 3 people in it, queued in for Arby's burrito or burrito, whatever, then if I queued in as expert, I would go immediately to that person who has the 3 people and they just need 1 DPS. And that's just so weird.
Maybe because they created 2 dungeons that aren't painful, so people don't care which one they get.
Are we sure that this says that that's how it's been handled in the past? I mean, the only thing this statement says is that another measure that was implemented in patch 3.1 would prioritize the queue for players who are queuing for new content, specifically over queuing via the Duty Roulette. And this is only for 3.1, according to the statement.
But then why But it still does not make sense to me. It's like, why would it do that? Because either way, it shouldn't change. Because even if, like, say 3 of us decided to queue for Arby's burrito, right? But then one person decided to do roulette. It still should
should
just
be the same
place
pool.
them. Yeah,
It should
it
be the
should
same
still
pool
be the
people.
same pool.
Yeah, but they're saying new content over duty roulette. They're not saying specific dungeons over
No,
duty roulette expert.
But that's what I'm saying, though, is because technically that's still new content. It's not like it was in 3.0. What is in the expert roulette are just those 2 dungeons.
Yeah. And prior, we've not had this issue when 2.4 drop, when 2.5 drop. When you implement the new dungeons, you have to queue for them singly, and then you unlock them in a roulette. So why is this becoming an issue now? Is it because of player imbalance at some point, or is there an algorithm change that they might have screwed up somehow?
Well, I'm just saying that I can see their thought process. I'm not saying that it was the best idea to go after, but there's a logic there. It's not like they were like, let's go. There's a specific logic there that they're using to do it this way, even though we might not agree with their choice.
Fair.
So going on more on this, this is actually posted November 14th. While queue times have increased, we have seen no indication that the Duty Finder is experiencing any matching issues since the patch of 3.1 for the Void Arc. Specifically, we're seeing longer wait times for tanks and healers as Void Arc offers eye level 200 gear. We assume that many players are queuing up to earn gear for their secondary roles, which seems to be often be tanks. For now, we would suggest forming a full party no, via Party Finder or as an alliance to help alleviate this for the time being. No, not going full party. Which I hate, because I really would rather be in a full party than to be in half an ass party. But
we had a conversation a couple days ago. This game has a very, very interesting player base in that we've seen the numbers from the dev side where the DPS obviously has the majority of the main as mains, whatever, like 75% to 25% for the healers and tanks, something like that.
Yeah.
When you really get down to it, I know more tanks and healers that have become mains than I know DPS.
I would agree with that sentiment.
And it's like a problem that I've never seen in any other MMO to date, where if you were to sit down and look at your friends list and try and fill a diadem like we did the other day, I was unable to find people to fill in the DPS slot. But I had a plethora of people to choose from tanks and healers.
Because tanks are really good in this game.
Well, warriors, obviously. But I mean, it's weird because in other games you don't have that problem, even though tanks are necessary and people roll it for Q. You don't have that problem where you don't have DPS on your friends list. And I'm looking at
true.
27 people, and almost every single one of them are a tank or a healer.
I think part of the problem could be is that, I mean, I think it's several problems. Is that DPS, especially if you do hard DDM, your chest drops rely on your party doing as much DPS as possible compared to the other party. If you want that gold chest, you better dish out that DPS. If you don't, well, you can say goodbye to that gold chest and probably maybe say hi on occasion to a silver chest if you're that lucky. But you could either get no chest or a bronze chest if you're not doing as good a DPS as the other groups. There's also just the stress of trying to out DPS other people. The parsers, are a good helpful tool, but at the same time, they can be a tool for, I don't know, putting others down. And I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not guilty of it, because I am, but it's still, I mean, when you look at whether you have to keep another person alive or healing, I mean, yeah, both the tank and the healer are basically there to keep people alive. There's one's tanking and the other's healing. That seems less stressful than eking out as much DPS that you can.
So basically, it's just you doing a predefined role versus being expected to be competitive with other players.
Yeah, your role doesn't change as a tank or heal. Well, I guess as a tank, you still have to try to DPS as much as possible. But you're right, as a healer, your role is still the same: keep everybody alive.
Yeah. But I mean, when you're having to compete against so many other people, especially in Diadem or in Savage, where people are saying you have to meet this DPS mark, if you're not able to do that, who the fuck would want you? Like, we've experienced that several times in Diadem where we've done party finder groups, for our free company, and we're like asking for just 1 or 2 DPS, and just one person can really ruin your experience. And that is really, I think that's kind of stressful. I
I would
mean,
agree with that.
yeah.
I think that that could turn a lot of people off if you think that you have to perform at a certain level, and you might think that, oh well, I can't do it, so why even bother playing this job? Because no one's gonna. I'm either gonna be like bad mouth, or people are gonna think that I'm a shit player because I don't have like the gear or the skills or whatever. So why even bother when I can just play a tank and not have to worry about competing with other people for being the best tank? I mean, yeah, you have to have a certain amount of skill and you have to know what you're doing as a tank, but you don't have to look at another tank and be like, oh, look at these numbers. What's up with your numbers, dude?
Unless you're a
I need
warrior.
to get rid of
Unless
you.
you're a warrior, yeah.
I mean, even if you're a warrior, it's not the same level of competitiveness that it is
No,
for a
That's
real
true. I agree with
DPS.
I agree.
Well, I mean, okay, so there are people in here who have tanks and heal main jobs. I mean, do you feel differently, or I mean, is the stress as a healer or a tank different? I mean, I wouldn't know, because honestly, I'm not a tank main. I am a DPS main, and I would rather stay that way.
The only stress that I have as a tank is stress of knowing what you should be doing at all times and being in a controlled situation. Because if you go into content not knowing how to do it, well, then if you don't know everything there is to know about that specific piece of content, where to go, what to do, how to do this, what pace to set, how keeping an eye on like your members and knowing how fast to go, or when you should slow down, or whether or not you can pull this many, or how far you can go in this section. If you don't have all that down, then you pretty much, it's the difference between a good run, a long and painful run, and a failure. And there's like a fine line between all those three things. But I don't think that it's the same kind of nervousness, and I don't think it's the same kind of feeling as being like, oh, I'm not the best DPS here. I can't keep up to the same level as other guys. They're gonna kick me out. I don't think that's the same level of I don't know the word for it, but because English me bad. But it's not the same urgency, I think.
So a lot of what he just said is actually why I stopped tanking. Well, in Duty Finder at least. The necessity to kind of know every mechanic, and the fact that the tank takes on that leader role really got to me after a while, because if you're not comfortable, then everyone complains, pull faster, do this, do that. As a DPS, you have to figure out mechanics and you punch things, the end. As a healer, I had to heal bars and move out of poop, the end. As a tank, it kind of feels like you control a lot more of the flow, and that really got to me after a while, to the point where I'm like, I don't want to deal with it. I'd rather be the healer and take a much more passive role so that I can learn how to do the fights at a speed that I feel comfortable with. Because honestly, if I'm just dodging AoE, I can heal you all day long and watch the fight and try and figure out what needs to be done so that eventually, if I want to go back as a tank, I can.
That was my reasoning for leveling up Bard. Because my thought process was, okay, I don't know any of the things that we're doing. And it's becoming stressful when I get into it and I try to figure things out, but I'm not on top of things. So I'm going to level a DPS so I can at least participate in the fights at first as a DPS and get used to it and see what's going on and know what's going on and know how things are handled. And then I can come back later as a tank and know what the flow is supposed to be and know how to do this and that by watching other tanks and watching how the mechanics work out. The only problem with that is, you have to have the time to put in fully work as a DPS.
Yeah. Now, the part that's kind of being in it really shitty right now is that things like Diadem hard mode, you don't take 2 tanks. You don't take 2 healers. You take 1 of each, and you take a bajillion DPS, and you punch that shit in the end. Otherwise, you don't get gold chests. So the DPS are having a field day and having quick queue times in things like Void Arc. They're having quick times in Diadem if they want to do Roulette. They're finding quick times on Party Finder, and it's making it harder as tanks and healers to actually get into that content. Joe was actually talking about how he started going as a monk more often than not because it was difficult to actually get in there as a Dark Knight. I'm finding it difficult to get in there as Astrologian because you just don't need more than 1 healer. So the DPS are in a very, very awesome position right now, and it's cool for them. And I think it's probably due time that we healers and tanks take a little bit of a shit on for queue times, but some of them have gotten fucking ridiculous.
Well, they've been ridiculous for DPS for a long time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's probably our time to kind of sit there and eat shit. But, I've never seen DPS hit an 80-minute queue time. I know 3 tanks have been hit with an 80-minute queue time in the past week.
Wow, that's really long.
That's very long.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of the whole, you only need, like, in Void Arc, it's where the majority of it is.
You only need 1. There's
you only
less
need
slots to fill up.
Mm-hmm. At least as a healer, I can get a 10 to 20 minute at times because it's 2. But as a tank, Joe's been hit with an 80-minute queue time. Rayo's been hit with an 80-minute queue time. I know a couple other friends on Twitter who've been hit with 70 minutes. It's vicious.
It is. Well, I mean, that is why we have the job system and the armory system, to be exact, and people can switch. I mean, but
Exactly.
The thing is that if you're a person who would rather play one role and that role happens to be a healer or a tank, I guess you're SOL.
Yeah. You really want to start spreading out as much as possible.
Yeah. Which is what I plan to do myself. Moving on. We've touched briefly on this, but the exploratory mission. So Yoshida actually did this really long post before the hotfix patch that happened, what was it, Tuesday?
Yeah.
I think it was Tuesday, yeah.
It was Tuesday, yeah. So he went into great detail about it. And so I'm going to go hit each bullet point. Number 1, the reason for this change was the mixing of battle classes jobs with gathering classes. So one of the big things is, in Diadem, you can hit these nodes and they actually have they actually show them, like, I think it's hard silver is a chance in the somewhere out there. I keep forgetting all the names of the zones. It's outside of Idleshire. It's a chance drop, but in Diadem, it's just a normal drop. But people are having problems because there's some people who are just going in, not doing jack shit, and then they're loading on gear, or there's gatherers who are in there, they don't want to fight, they just want to gather, and they may be loading gear, they may be passing it, I don't know, but they're not pulling their weight on the people who do
drops
want.
Even drop with
Yeah.
not enough DPS.
Yeah, there's not enough DPS, so I mean that's a thing too. So Yoshida said that if we set a rule making it so that players who don't take part in battles can't lot on loot, we would end up with people simply going off to gather since they don't need lotting rights, which would mean that we could potentially weaken the battle capabilities of parties. So yeah, essentially that. I would just go off and be like, woohoo, look at me. I'm just going to gather. And then he goes on to say, we understand that some feel that not all issues can be resolved through discussion and it can be difficult to communicate with each other, but we would like to keep an eye on the situation for a little longer. Also, by separating the matchmaking system by objective, we would need to make extensive changes to the system which would be difficult to achieve within the patch 3.1 series. If you feel that you absolutely must avoid being matched with the players with different objectives, we ask that you please use the Party Finder to form parties. However, when we expand exploratory missions in the future, we will be sure to look at how people have been playing the content and reflect the feedback we've been given. Which kind of is like, duh. Wouldn't you?
Right?
It just seems like duh.
Yeah, it really does. Like, honestly, we were already using Party Finder majority because, like we talked about before, hard mode is not that difficult. It's just the DPS check.
Yeah.
So the difference between hard and normal comes down to drops.
Mm-hmm.
So we were already doing that. So it makes sense that you should continue that trend of actually utilizing Party Finder to get things done.
But I think the problem is that people are not communicating it. Maybe they're just throwing up a party find and not expressly sharing, okay, this is what we're going to do. Or maybe people go in there. I don't know. It just seems kind of silly. Like, really, just list what you want from people and talk to them. Maybe I'm missing something. If you, the listener, have an experience where this has been a problem for you, let us know, because I'm kind of curious as to if this is really such a big deal, because in my mind, it doesn't seem like a big deal.
I guess in Duty Finder, that's where it's really an issue. Because you have no repercussions, because it's all randoms. Some people don't care when it's all randoms and stuff like that.
Oh, can you really duty find exploratory missions? I didn't know that.
Mhm.
You can. You do.
But
Easy
there's
normal.
greed all. That's where it's automatically set to.
Yeah.
See, this entire time, I've only done either free company or duty or party finder. Sorry. So, oh well. Request for a filter feature for ethereal equipment exchange.
Yes, please. Yes, fucking please.
Yes.
Yes.
This is a feature that the development team very much want to implement at release. However, we became short on time and changed the system to the current interface, which has left us in a situation where it is easy to make mistakes. I apologize for the current inconvenience and want to let you know that we do plan on adjusting the interface. Thank you.
You know what I don't understand is they have it set up for the Grand Company seal, the provisions, where you can set exclude things that are in gear sets.
Yes.
It's like they can't do that for this.
Yeah, it made no sense to me. I don't understand why that was the case. Like, if it's tied to a gear set, there should be no reason for it to pop on your goddamn list.
Yeah, at least have the filter like the Grand Company stuff. You can filter those out.
Or this is a system I personally like in what is it? Unison League, is that you can favorite an equipment so that you never have to worry about it being sold ever. And I really like that, because it's then you don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry, is this really in my gear set? Or do I potentially need this in my gear set? Is it an alternate piece of gear? Because I've done that sometimes. I don't have it equipped. I just have it on hand just as this is different stats and maybe I might need it in this scenario. So I keep it. But if I could favorite it, I wouldn't have to worry at all.
Like, actually, I got a decent 210 ring for my Astrologian early on, and I went I turned it in as a machinist, and guess what? It got turned in, and I was super fucking
and
pissed.
it's fast. It's only one click. It's
Yeah,
not like do you want to trade this in? It's like, yeah, you trade it in, and then there's your 3 brass spoils.
Yeah,
and that's it.
That's
super
sad.
sucks. I mean,
yeah,
it is what it is. You fix it and you move forward, but fuck, it was not a good feeling at the time. How's that?
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because rings are super important, because you always need 2.
Yep.
And you can't technically get 2 unless you're doing Savage. So it's like, fuck, you really want a ring.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, 3. Players ignoring... Okay, I know we're responsible. We're, like, guilty of this, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Players ignoring monsters after managing to land the first attack.
But that's the meta. That's every group.
Yeah. Okay, so let me read exactly what Yoshida put in here, because I think it's important. The right to earn rewards can be obtained in 2 ways. Be the first party to perform an attack on a monster. This alone secures the right to earn rewards. And 2, reduce the monster's HP by a certain amount via attacking. The system follows the fundamental system employed for 14, but for the second method mentioned above, we have set it so that the percentage of HP needed to be reduced is lower than that of the normal open world. A lot of feedback we have been receiving are requests to make it so it is impossible to simply guarantee a reward by performing the first attack, pulling back, and then waiting for other parties to defeat the enemy. If we simply made this the same as the second method mentioned above, we expect that we would have players complaining that their reward privilege was taken from them even though they had landed the first attack. Due to this, we are currently considering making it so that parties that land the first attack on a monster will have to reduce its HP by a certain amount until the reward privileges are guaranteed. but the amount that needs to be reduced will be less than that for the second method. If it looks like this is becoming a larger issue, then we will proactively look into countermeasures. But since this is an essentially a core system in 14, we would need time to address it separately for the diadem. We ask that you please bear this in mind.
Okay. So we are not super guilty of it, because here's the stipulation. Is that what he's saying is that people would attack it and then just completely forget about it. We were just actually... this only ever came into play when you pulled like 4 fucking Triceratops.
Yes.
And you focus on the other Triceratops.
You prioritize.
You prioritize, but we always went back to kill what we had.
Yes.
Apparently it sounds like there are people who are not even doing that, which is bull.
That is really
That's kind of bullshit. Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, there's no reason that you shouldn't prioritize in that fashion. If you know you're going to guarantee rewards on a single mob, why not go for the other ones? Things are still
get your
dying.
rewards on the other ones. Other people will get their rewards on yours.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's a win-win for everybody. Because all the enemies die.
I mean, I guess because maybe we're not on a server or cluster that is thinking with their heads. I don't know. This all seems kind of like, really? Really?
Yeah. There's a lot of what the fuck, really, guys?
Yeah. Okay, so number 4, this kind of makes sense in a way, I guess. You know, you don't want to play with assholes, and so implementing a vote dismiss feature. Of course, Yoshida says that they want to avoid possible abuse of this feature, especially when it comes on lotting rewards, which is something that I was afraid of personally, because I thought that you could vote dismiss, and when I found out you couldn't, I was like, yay! But there are times where I kind of want to be like, you know what? I wish I could kick this guy, and I can't.
Like the jerk face doesn't even want to help and just kind of roams around on their own.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, screw that guy. But the thing is, like, would there be replacement? That's the big question.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there wouldn't be.
Because if a person leaves now, there's no replacement.
Yeah. Especially since you can't duty roulette hard mode.
Yeah, so if you're party finding, is that gonna, and you kick somebody, well, I guess you're party finder, you're kind of screening, so it really doesn't matter, does it?
Mm-hmm. But they are looking at readjusting the time for re-entry, which I don't know, 30 minutes doesn't seem long.
Honestly, after 90 minutes of craziness, I kind of like the cooldown.
I know, me too. Like, it was getting really, I mean, when I'm doing diadem, that's all I'm doing, and I really feel guilty taking potty breaks, even though I should.
No, I mean, it's kind of how the thing is set up. With the gold standard, you need to be there all 90 minutes constantly pulling, just so you can ensure the fact that you're going to get chests. So from a DPS standpoint, I can totally understand why it's frustrating and tiring. So that 30 minutes afterwards, you kind of need to go unwind.
Mm-hmm. 5, this is something that he covers, overhunting of monsters that continue to spawn at specific locations. Yeah. Okay,
Triceratops.
Triceratops, a lot of other things. Anyways, so there's this, it's mostly a problem concerning low-ranking monsters such as Triceratops on Triceratops Island. And this is what they're going to do. There's going to be 2 adjustments, and they fall into these categories. 1 is adjustments to the rate of which monsters respawn. The time it takes for monsters to respawn will be adjusted. And the balancing will be changed so that instead of groups camping in certain locations, players can choose between hunting on the move or camping depending on the size and strength of their groups. I kind of like that. I also really like the old-fashioned way of camping. I don't know. It makes me nostalgic for 11. 2, adjustments to certain notorious monster spawns requirement. Changes will be made to the spawn requirements when several parties continue to defeat low-rank monsters. These adjustments, the second one in particular, are to address the imbalance between the effort required to defeat low-ranking monsters and the amount of high-level gear players received in the diadem. This only applies when low-ranking enemies are defeated by more than one party and will not affect the drop rate of treasure chests or the gear obtained from them. Please accept our apologies that this was not well balanced from the start. We realize that making these changes so suddenly is an inconvenience. We ask that you please understand that this is being done in order to maintain the overall balance of 14. Honestly, I don't see the problem. I don't.
I don't. I mean, like I said, I haven't done experts, or sorry, not experts, expert missions, whatever the fuck they're called. Exploratories, that's the word, since the change. So I have not seen how any of this plays out personally. But I think Joe had seen some of it. Joe, do you have any comment on that?
It's different, but it's not that bad. Like, you would get up to 15 chests, gold chests, pre-patch, and post. You're getting around 8. So it's, some say, oh, it's half, but it's like, seriously, you guys are getting 8 pieces of 210 gear in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're literally just killing stuff. So why are you really complaining? And a lot of it's not even that great. So it's like, I think yesterday, out of the 9 we got, like 4 or 5 of them had like one secondary stat that was like less than 20.
Ooh.
So it's kind of like, you can go back in, just wait 30 minutes, you go back in. So it's not that big of a deal. The changes, like, so we were, people have tested it, and we went in, we were the only group in the whole instance. So of course, we can't farm,
That's right.
nonstop. We found a small island with the pterodactyls, and we were killing one. It took 12 minutes to kill one.
Whoa.
But they're rank 5s with one party. But every time we killed one, we got a notification that, something is, like, every single mob we killed, something popped up. And that's a lot faster than before, when you'd have to kill like 4 or 5 enemies before a message would pop up. So after 5 enemies, we got a guaranteed track. So I'm guessing, like, if this is how it was supposed to happen, like, let's say, what was it, 9 parties, right?
Mm-hmm.
If all 9 parties were all on separate islands, and none of them were dickbags, and they all were decided to work together, technically all 9 of them could farm 5 enemies and then have friggin' 9 stars pop at the same time. Then everybody go to the track, help kill the S, go back. And I think, like, but that's a perfect world, and we're not in a perfect world.
No.
So you get the bitching of people like, oh, you won't help us kill our stars, or you won't shout about your stars, so why would we do that? And I just, you see a bunch of the bitching and stuff like that.
Oh, or we're gonna steal your stars because you're not shouting for them.
Exactly.
And it's I don't know. I don't know how to make sense of all this. I just think that, really, if you want to steal the brontosaurus, by all means, go for it. But don't expect other people to raise you because you decided to be an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
But I was in a pretty good group that when we were doing it by ourselves, then we shouted, and someone was like, oh, we're on this island. And then there was only like 3 parties, so we were all doing our own thing, and then we would help get stars. So we got a pretty good amount of stars that way. But it's, you have to coordinate with the people in that instance. Which
I think that's what people should be doing anyways. I mean, it's such a large expanse, and that, if people are like, hey, let's go on islands that are close enough together, then it should be fine. And 12 minutes, okay, that's a long fight, but really, it's not that long.
Nope.
Not
and
when
like I was telling Siri earlier, that, like, it feels slow as shit. You're like, fuck, I've been here, for half an hour, 1/3. And we've only killed 2 enemies, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you think if all 9 parties are doing that, and then everybody's calling, you're going to get a crap ton of stars, and it'll even out to, about 10 or 12 even, or even more, if people are doing it on their own, because you get the you can pretty much force track pops after X amount of mobs.
Yeah, we were also pretty damn spoiled before, to be fair.
Oh, yeah. We were damned spoiled. I mean, just, what was it, the night before the hotfix, we got
15.
15?
Yeah, 15. It was insane.
That other night, I got 7 out of the 9. I personally got 7 out of the 9.
Because you're a bad man, that's why.
Bad, man.
Bad.
So yeah, I mean that's a lot of chest drops. I think I would like to try that for sure
Yeah, I
in
need
our
to get my
next
ass back
diadem
in
run.
there.
Yeah. Lastly is re-raise items. So someone by the name of Favel on the Lodestone forums suggested that they're going to balance items, not Phoenix Down though. They could use Phoenix Down as a re-raise on the open world. If you die while carrying one, you would get instantly revived. The unique trait of the item would make it impossible to exploit this, and while not being an extremely needed effect, a lot of people would use it, especially when leveling low-level characters and alts. So Zexos, something like that, said, thanks for the great suggestion. The dev team would like to consider making changes to Phoenix Down, so this type of suggestion is really helpful. If you have any other suggestions regarding Phoenix Down, please make sure to post them so we can relay it to the dev team. Now, back in Final Fantasy XI, you had re-raise what?
Cudgel.
No, that's Warp Cudgel.
Was it Warp Cudgel? Oh, it was re-raise. What was it? Was it re-raise helmet? Was it a headpiece
No,
or
I
necklace?
think it was there was
Re-raise
one that was a neck piece and one was a ring, I think.
Yeah, it was a necklace. I believe it was a
Yeah.
necklace.
So you use this, and if you were smart, you would make sure to bring several discs with you along with your warp cudgel so that you would have a guaranteed way home and a guaranteed way of raising yourself if you decided to do something foolish like soloing. I don't see why they didn't do this in the first place. Maybe it's just me. I mean, it's like you have the Phoenix Down, but really, I could never seem to use it anyway.
How did you use it? I never used one.
I mean, like, I think you're like, so someone's dead and you use item on them, but I think they have to be in your party. I can't even remember if I've ever gotten it one to successfully
I think I
be
dropped
used.
mine.
I know, that's what I've done eventually. I've just dropped them because there's no use for them.
It said in my retainer since I got it, and then I just need an extra spot, dropping.
Yeah, I actually destroyed one in my inventory yesterday, and I have the other one on my retainer. It's like, fuck, I don't know what to do with them.
Yeah. It's just a wasted item, which it seems sad because it's an important part of the Final Fantasy series.
Very iconic.
Yeah, you buy the Phoenix Down to raise your members. Otherwise, you don't want them dead all the time. But here it's just, it's a Phoenix Down. Whatever, just throw it away.
Well, I mentioned it before, but because of the way that they had to hurry to redo the game and everything, there's a lot of little itty bitty details that fell by the wayside. And I think that's all it is. It
was an oversight.
They got the main pieces done, and then the only thing that was left that they didn't get all the way through was the polish. And over time, we find these little things that didn't make sense, or they weren't quite good, or they weren't quite there. And we've talked about them in the past, but eventually they got around to them, or they say, "Oh, we'll look into it." Blah blah blah. It's just over time, all this stuff will iron itself out. I think, as long as we keep bringing it to their attention.
I hope so, because I mean, it's been 2 years, right? 2 years, and still, it's just kind of an item that you're kind of staring, what the fuck am I going to use you for?
And you didn't want to get rid of it because it was a Phoenix Down?
Yeah!
It was just
it doesn't even sell for a lot. You're like, oh,
it sells for
it's a
14
Phoenix
gil.
Down. So
I'm
you
hovering
think,
over
well,
right now.
maybe it'll cost thousands of gil. It's a Phoenix Down, right? And
right.
You go to the thing and it's chump change.
It sells for less than what you can vendor it for. So I give us re-raise items. I mean, I don't. And maybe I'm thinking it's not a bad thing, but is there something that could potentially break it?
Well, they said specifically open world. I can see it being exploitable in dungeons where you can do a massive sack pull, or in raids. But since they said overworld, I don't see it being busted in overworld at all.
I think
because
if
the
you used
overworld's
it,
not even dangerous, really.
yeah. Well, I mean, say if you use it in Diadem, then you can raise yourself without having to fly all the way across Diadem, right?
You'd still be hit
That's
with
true.
weakness penalty, though.
you would, but then
That's the same as getting raised, anyways.
Which is
Yeah.
even more of a reason for it to be balanced. I mean, I don't see the problem having it just be something that raises you.
Yeah, because
Neither do I.
yeah, because like if your summoner or your healers are dead, it's a wipe. It's a wipe. It's a wipe. And it's like, well, if you had somebody had it, he can res somebody, res the healer, and then they can LB3. It's not exploitable. It's not broken. It helps.
Well, maybe
the
they
group.
were thinking that it would take away from the utility of the healers. Maybe.
but sometimes if the healers can't save themselves, who is gonna save the healer?
Besides, like I said, besides a summoner, that's
Yeah.
that's it. And some groups don't even have summoners in their raid group or their parties.
I know. Like I think it was last night or maybe some other night. I was in a party with one of the free company members, and they're like, "Oh yeah." So I think it was last night. They're like, the healer died, and then the person, I think it was their boyfriend, said, "Hey, oh, never mind. I'm a black mage."
Hmm.
And they couldn't raise them because they're a black mage. They can't have raise on their bar. So I mean, at least if you had a Phoenix down or a re-raise item, then you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of good that comes out of that, and I think it's something they really should take into consideration.
Well, there's
Yeah.
also something to be said about them not making it so ubiquitous, because if you're gonna say, well, everyone should be able to raise to save everyone else, well then everyone should be able to provoke, everyone should be able to cure, everyone should be able to blah
The
blah
slippery
blah.
slope.
Roles are defined for a reason, is the point, and I honestly don't think that there's anything wrong with people being able to raise, but I can understand them being careful about what kinds of things they implement when they're basing things around a role-placed game.
I guess, but to me it
There's
seems
nothing really glaring that would be busted.
Yeah,
in my eyes.
That's the thing, is I don't see how it could be abused. Then again, I'm not the person who would think of taking 8 warriors into Ravana. So there's
8 warriors into Ravana with 3 rays. OP.
Yeah, it would be OP.
They're
I don't
OP
know.
before that, so. Joe. I'm looking at you, Joe.
Yeah, did you, Zeno put another video up, I think, the other day, 8 warriors in Ravana EX, and it was very, very fun to watch them do that, especially with all the fell cleaves going off at the same time.
Damn.
And they had to be coordinated though, because they shared all the blinding blades, and like they had to designate who would provoke off what, and like who would pop what cooldowns at certain points. But they killed it before during the ad phase. None of the ads popped before they pushed it, and then they killed him before the swords were even assigned for Swift Liberation. Was that Swift Liberation? I think it's Swift Liberation.
Yeah.
Yeah, they killed him right before, like, he was dead and the swords were just materializing above the players. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Man, maybe I should level warrior.
I continue to say warrior is OP.
Yeah, it is too OP.
Like, the more I see what warriors do, like, the more I realize that that's a class that, as a tank, I should have played, not the paladin.
Oh, paladin's next in line. Don't worry.
Well, I'm sure.
Hell, I kept telling you should be a warrior.
I told Dark to level warrior also. It's just because, like, you don't have a tank level warrior.
Well, like, coming from WoW, like, the paladin in my mind had always been, like, not like the premier tank, but a tank that had self-heals. It was able to be a little more functional. But all of that ability seems to be on the warrior. Like, damn, I should have done that.
Now imagine if they gave them dual wield.
Oh my gosh.
My god.
I think
Can we get
Titan
Can we
grip?
get Rampager back?
Titan's grip, yeah.
Titan grip, yeah.
No, let's get Rampager back. Let's get that one back.
What is Rampager?
It was
The
a skill in
buff-ass
1.0
weapon
for
skill?
warrior. Yeah, where your damage increased over time the more you swung.
Oh yeah.
Or
Okay.
if you don't move,
That
you
was
get
one
like
of the
stacks.
Yeah.
You get stacks too, where like if you just don't move.
Jeez. Okay, that would be too OP. Anyway. I think that is it. It's fairly shortish episode, but we wanted to be able to make sure that we got this episode out for our Patreon listeners and for everyone else too. I think that's it, right? Nothing else?
I got nothing.
You got nothing?
Yeah, no.
I got nothing. All right. Besides, Joe has to go pick up Dark so that she's not going to claw his face out.
You'll do it
Please don't
anyway.
that.
Well, I hope not. Well, maybe I do. Anyway. You can find our website at sequencebreak.com. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at SBXIV. If you're wanting to support our podcast, you can now support us at patreon.com/SBXIV. If you're interested in one-time donations, hit us up with an email at podcast@sequencebreak.com. Or for any questions, comments, you can still send us at podcast@sequencebreak.com. The old email address still does work, so if you're wondering if you can still send something at podcast@zantensuken.net, yes, you can. Plugs. I think that's it. That's the one word I was looking for. Plugs. Orophen, you can go first this time. I'm being nice.
Hakomichi.net.
All right, there you go. Hakomichi.net. Cirrisian.
Bro! Nah, nothing special. I exist.
Brobro.net. Okay.
Brobro.net.
Let's go to brobro.net. .brobro.org. .brobro.
Slash Brobro.
Yes.
At Brobro.
Gosh.
Hashtag Brobro.
I can only imagine it would give me to a porn site if I type that all in.
Just guys lifting weights and skeeting off in the mirrors.
Harshifan is the mascot.
Oh, that would be so sad, but also really fitting. Joe.
Twitter, J0SHIMITSU.
If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can at CALAERA. I don't know. I haven't been tweeting much. I've noticed. I'm like, I haven't been tweeting much, but that's because I work. I don't play enough or complain enough. I don't know. Anyway, I think that's it. About what? About you?
Yeah, sure. Do that on Twitter.
I expect like a stream of tweets about Oro and how he sucks like after this episode.
So then what would he suck?
Let's
What?
start with
What?
cigarettes and work our way up.
Why do we have to have a what? That's not something that's appropriate.
I think this is something that needs to be discussed.
What? Yeah, what? Maybe I should
Teats?
tweet that. What does... No.
I suck breasts.
Ew.
Lollipops.
Okay, how about this? You suck Horshafon's breast.
Sure. If he has good perky tits, I'm on him.
We're done. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye, guys.